Hello, we are still here at the 9th African Population Conference and we are getting the discussions going from our perspectives. One of the issues that has come up is being able to tell our story from our own perspectives. However, there's issues of age gap and disparities when it comes to who sets the agenda in research issues and all of that. I get to sit with Aïssata Fall from the PRB, which is working on issues of research and telling the story from the perspective of the African. Hello and welcome, Aïssata.
Hello.
It's nice to have you. So, like you're talking about, how do you think from someone who has worked extensively and believe in the young person's abilities and capabilities, how do you think that we can bridge the age gap? And maybe you could touch briefly even on issues of gender in the within research, especially in telling our African story and from the African perspective.
Thank you. I think the first question to ask on how to bridge is why we want to do that. Do you want to do that because it is necessary all of a sudden to have an African perspective, or is it only, I would say, quote, quote, to bring or involve young people because it is what must be done? Or do we really think that it has an impact, it's critical for building the future of Africa? So as we discussed several times, more than 60% is under 25. So these people are the next voters, the next decision makers, and all what is being decided now is going to shape the new models that we need in Africa. Yeah. So if we go to research, one of the big questions that was had during the power shifting session we had was about who is defining or deciding for the research agenda. So a big intention or a big idea of we need to gather everyone, civil society, young people, researchers, decision makers, and they're going to decide, but actually it's not working and it's not going to work. So the point is that there are some mechanisms that already exist, and how do we analyze the decision-making mechanism, what exists, because whatever we want, these people, there are already some people that are older and that also know their work and their job, that are working in some mechanisms within our countries where decision-making systems cannot be changed all of a sudden. So how do we involve young people or involve the gender aspect in this? And how do we collaborate, create dialogue with the current decision maker or senior researchers to really have them considering that it is important to accept that young people can bring innovation in their thinking. Something that I heard from some researchers was that the COVID had that positive impact, that during these 4 years where everything stalled, young people evolved. They created their own stuff that, to be honest, we don't understand. You used all this digital with no help. You created some new tools for communicating, thinking, and it seems that you have already started to change the model. So how can you make this visible so that older generation take advantage and learn from it? So I think the question is why we want to do that.
Thank you very much, and that's a wonderful perspective. And before I let you go, you mentioned about the fact that there are already people in the space, especially in the older generation, who are doing stuff, and how can you even learn? Do you think that intergenerational dialogue and mentorship could be the game changer? And how deliberate can we be about that?
Thank you. So here again, there are lots of theories and concepts that are great and very intentional. For me, the question, so I'm Africa Director for PRB, which is an INGO, an international NGO. So we are involved in this debate. That has been a global north debate initially. And well, so this is where we met in this power shifting committee of practice. So my question is how, in my position or in my organization, we can really contribute beyond the theory. Donors are expecting a lot from us. Nobody has an answer. So we are continuing to conceptualize. I think that as an INGO, and I just want to talk about what an INGO could do because this is where I could move something. I think we can really think about young people or young researchers not as beneficiaries of our activities, but as our future colleagues, actually, because this is who you are. It's about who is going to work with us, or who are we going to work with later. You that will be the next researcher, decision makers. So how can we support this professionalization, because what we see today is that we have great advocates, as we talked earlier. No, you have the academic background, but no experience, professional experience, then you will not be recruited, because when the project is recruiting, we recruit for a program, and we only have the money of a program. It's not for building capacities. And you do not build professional capacities through a program when you have to achieve some result because you committed to something for a donor or for a funder. Or you have this great experience and you don't have the right academic background. So once again, you will not be recruited. So I think INGO can contribute to localization concretely by bridging this first gap. It's the same for research. And I just will take one example. I come from the Francophone region, West Africa. So we are here in the African Population Conference talking demography. And in Senegal, there is a CREG, which is a research center for demographic economics. And actually, they have created the very first master in generational economics in French, which is critical because it would support demographers to understand how today in Africa, our economic model has evolved and must consider demographic transition. But the point is that it's very difficult for young PhD demographer or other to integrate this master because of the cost. So how can we support this so that these demographers that are being trained in very well-renowned institute we have in Africa get this knowledge that is critical so that they can meet the needs of decision makers who need now some economists or demographers that are able to advise them on the crossroads of these two disciplines. So this is the kind of things that could be done. And then partnership, mentorship, so that we help young people or researchers to professionalize, because we have the experience of the needs of the environment, the needs of the decision makers. This is where we can really partner and mentor to transfer our skills actually, or help them to build based on their mistakes also.
Exactly. And so if you're a young person, do look out for someone you can learn from. And if you are an expert already in the space, please look out for someone you can transfer your skills, your experience as you transition out of the space. We are just partners, we are colleagues, and definitely we will be able to tell our story from the African perspective. Thank you very much for having us. To become your way sometime soon.
Thank you.